Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam, and welcome to my first ever podcast talking about Star Wars, titled "The Hardcore Star Wars Fans Are Answering Questions About Star Wars." And joining me here is my friend and fellow Star Wars fans, Dominic. Say hi, Dominic.
Hi, my name is Dominique.
Okay, that's all you need to know because we respect privacy here. So this is my first time we're doing any sort of this kind of podcast stuff, and the reason why I do this is basically is just my general obsession with Star Wars, because those who know me for a long time know that I'm a very huge Star Wars fan. I talk a lot about Star Wars and I answer questions about Star Wars, even though no one asked me these kind of questions. And so today is sort of like my take me, manning up and finally decide to make a video of me discussing Star Wars. And I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually dressed for the occasion. I'm actually wearing a shirt with a AT-AT here. And
it's nice.
Yes, and I've prepared some reference materials here in case anyone doubts what I said, doubt my authority as a Star Wars fan.
Don't worry, we won't. I won't.
So yeah, I hope you can enjoy our discussions later. And first, and of course, fair warning, spoilers ahead in case you haven't even watched all the Star Wars movies, because there will be a lot of spoilers ahead. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin. Our first topic of today is Jedi, as portrayed in the Star Wars movies, and also other materials which I will use for reference, of course. Now, the Jedi. To describe, I think to this day, the best way to describe the Jedi is to quote very wise Jedi Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Jedi Knights are guardians of peace and justice for the Old Republic for thousands of generations. And Dominic, I think we have discussion about these soft topics before. I think I recall that you sort of call yourself a supporter of the Jedi, right?
Yes, of course, because we believe that the Jedi's are the good guys, right? So they're the protagonists of the story. So I'm supporting them.
But how much do you even know the Jedi? Besides, not. I think we will just for the moment we will only talk about how they are portrayed in the movies. How much do you know about them anyway?
So basically, I actually only know about the things in the movies. I haven't read any literature about Jedi. So primarily, or basically, I actually only know about the whatever is portrayed in the movies and the animations, and that's it.
I would say that would be enough. So, sort of very quick introduction to the Jedi. Basically, they are I would say they are primarily a religious organization first. They are basically a group of people. At first, there was just a group of different groups of religious groups studying this mystical energy called the Force. And then one day they basically follow their intuition and they travel to a planet. And they decide to, why don't we merge our knowledge and experience together and form this big organization that's called Jedi. Side notes here, what I just described is the old continuity. Star Wars basically now has these two continuity. One is called canon, and another called is Legends. What I just described is the one from the Legends continuity. So, I don't know, maybe LucasArts will change the narrative later. But I doubt they will, because what I just described is pretty general. Different groups of people coming together decide to unify their teachings. and eventually they merge into become the Jedi. They form the Jedi Order, and then eventually they didn't actively seek out anything. They actually just stuck to a planet and then just do their things. They meditate. They write down what they know. They write down their knowledge. Is
So question, how do they become a Jedi?
How do they become? Now this is actually a lot of moviegoers ask this question because the movies didn't actually explain that much about how people become Jedi, become a Jedi. A lot of protagonists like the Skywalkers, they just do some training and then kill training montage and then they just call themselves Jedi. So the general procedure would be first you must be a force sensitive. So force sensitive would be, in layman's term, basically you need to be a wizard, like in Harry Potter. So no chance for muggles like us. So you need to be a force sensitive, and you need to either you can find the Jedi Order, or the Jedi Order will actively seek you out and recruit you. But during the movie eras, it's mostly the latter one, because the Jedi has a very strict code that maybe we'll discuss that more later. It's kind of attached to their core beliefs. So they will recruit members, but they don't accept if you cannot join it. You cannot ask for them to accept you. You have to be seek out, and a lot of, and so basically that's it. You need to find people need to find you.
Just now, you talked about their core beliefs. So what are those core beliefs?
So to find out why do they have the beliefs, we have to talk about what is the Force first. So as I need to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi. A lot of the Star Wars knowledge comes from Obi-Wan Kenobi first. So the Force is this mystical. The Force is the energy field created by all living things and surrounds us and penetrates us and binds the galaxy together. So again, I will try to explain in layman's term. The Force is like the coding of the Star Wars universe. It's basically the laws of everything. If you can sense the Force, interact with the Force, you can basically manipulate the rules of the universe. So it's very powerful, the Force. If you are smart enough and you have a strong enough willpower, you can basically use the Force to warp reality to whatever you like. So I would say that it's even more powerful than the Infinity Stones in the Marvel Universe. So the Jedi knew this, and their arch enemies, the Sith, which we may talk about later. We can talk about later. They know how powerful the Force is. So their core beliefs is they need to restrict their members, or basically everyone in the galaxy, to abuse this power. So this set up this code called the Jedi Code, which I will recite now. There's no emotion. There's peace. There's no ignorance. There's knowledge. There's no chaos. There's no passion. There's serenity. There's no chaos. There's harmony. There's no death. There's the Force. They basically restrict what we will now describe as human emotions, and have their members stick to this code. You cannot overreact. You cannot, be very emotional. You need to act rationally, because the Force is tied to emotions. If you are very emotional, rather than you controlling the Force, it will be the Force controlling you. Sort of like how the hormones in your brain controls you, and you will have irrational thoughts.
Sorry, just to clarify, because you said they cannot have emotions. So is it just the bad emotion or any emotion at all? Because I remember Yoda saying something about fear leads to hatred, hatred leads to anger, anger leads to suffering. So is it just the negative emotions, or they're allowed to have those good emotions?
the no emotion part is actually, since you quote Yoda, I will quote another Jedi called the Anakin Skywalker. He said like Jedi should love, but there should be a general kind of love. So they can have emotion, but they are not allowed to feel attachment to basically anything. You cannot feel attached to, for example, you cannot feel attached to your master, to a possession, to your clothing, or to money, these sort of things. So because they see emotion is related to attachment. If you don't have any particular feeling toward one things, you will not have attachment to it. And without attachment, you will not, if once it's gone, you won't feel lost. You won't feel desperate. And because those things lead to the dark side.
So since you talked about the dark side, so the dark side is like more of the Sith, right? Is it correct?
Yes, but it's more of the Sith, but there are a lot of different groups in Star Wars who use the dark side. For example, like in the sequel trilogy, the Knights of Ren. The Sith is more like a more organized religion, a more well-known religion that a lot of people know more about it, but they are not the only one. So the dark side. So the dark side is sort of like the negative side of the Force. There are actually multiple interpretations depending on from writers to writers. So there are multiple explanations on the nature of the dark side. Just like in real life, we have the same thing, and we have very different interpretation of it. Different groups will give different interpretation. It's kind of funny. It's the fun thing about Star Wars.
Another question, sorry, because I've heard like some news about like the color of the lightsaber. Does it really matter? Because I heard some people having theory that Mace Windu is knowledgeable of both the light and the dark side of the Force, so that's why his lightsaber is purple. Is that true?
Yes and no. First of all, why there's a purple lightsaber in the first place is not because of story reasons, but because of the actor Samuel L. Jackson. When Lucasfilm started filming for Star Wars Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones, and Mace Windu was in it, and he basically asked George, "Well, I want a purple lightsaber," and George said, "No, you can only have blue or green or red, and since you're a Jedi, you can only use blue or green." But because Samuel is a big actor, so he said, "Yeah, but I want purple, so get on with it." So there's the reason why he has a purple lightsaber.
So they just make up that story then.
Yes, but it kind of falls in line with his character, because you probably don't know, but it's been there since like I think 1978 that in between movies, in between Star Wars movie, there were a lot more other contents basically filling up the gaps. Contents like books or comic books, junior novels, this kind of stuff. And in some of those novels, those writers who depict Mace to be this kind of stoic Jedi, that is stoic, not in like calm and wise, more like it's very strict to the code and rules and the laws of the Republic. I'm trying to find a sort of like very. He's like a soldier, more like a monk, but he doesn't want to be called soldier because run against the Jedi code. But that's basically what he is. He's a soldier. So there's some dark side in him, and he acknowledges that. He actually knew that, but he thinks, yeah, it's okay as long as I follow the code, I follow the rule, I follow the law. It's okay.
Yeah, he was able to somehow keep that dark side of the Force at bay.
Yes, that's what he thinks. Though he's very arrogant.
Then, like also, like you said, like the Jedi is supposed to keep the peace in the whole. Is it the galaxy?
Yes, it's just the galaxy.
So how do they actually do that? Like, I think there's only very few of them, right?
Yes, there's only like I haven't. It's been a while since I checked the exact numbers, but a few years ago, the LucasArts says that the story groups from LucasArts says that there were only at max in their prime there were only like 10,000 Jedi Knights in the galaxy. I want to correct one thing is that they don't keep peace in the galaxy. They want to believe they keep peace in the galaxy, but they only keep peace in the Republic. Because a great example would be Tatooine. It's outer rim world and it's not part of the Republic. And it has very little resources. So there are no Jedi there. And if you delve deep into the Star Wars galaxy, you will find out that there were actually a lot of people who doesn't even know what a Jedi is. They believe them to be, characters from children's stories. They only keep peace in the Republic.
So it explains why, like, somehow they're quite like not really that welcomed in Tatooine during the first is it the Phantom Menace? Yeah.
Yeah. So to answer that, I have to go back to the very beginning of how the Jedi become like this big order that's located in the freaking capital of the galaxy. So they were originally just monks and philosophers and scientists, right? And so one day, the Republic, the just newly formed Republic, so thousands of years ago, so they're wandering around the galaxy and they stumble upon the Jedi Order. They were like, wow, these guys are very powerful and they're very peaceful and they want to uphold law and order. So we should ask them to join us. And that's how Jedi Order become part of the Republic. And that basically continues on for thousands of years. They turn from a school of philosophers into basically a glorified police that doesn't want to admit that they are police. So since Tatooine is not a part of the Republic and is very far away from the core worlds, the core worlds are basically like what I would describe as the first worlds of the Star Wars galaxy, big rich country. And so they're far away, they have little resources, so the Republic doesn't care about that world. So they basically leave them alone. And since the Republic leave them alone, of course they wouldn't want to waste resources to maintain the peace there. And by resources, I mean money. And of course they're very powerful police Jedi. So that's why they are not welcome there. Because Tatooine has a lot of problems. Like it has like spice trades, and for those who don't know, spice actually means drugs in Star Wars Galaxy. But since it was intended to be a children movie, so they cannot use the word drugs. They will change it into spice. So there were spice trades, there were gamblings, and there were a lot of gangsters there, and of course slavery. So since Tatooine is kind of a weird place where it's very remote, but information goes there quite quite accurately and fast. So they stay even in Tatooine, they still know what's happening out there. So they will definitely know what Jedi is. So when you have a lot of problems and you hear this group of very powerful beings that says they will uphold the peace and justice in the galaxy, so of course you will get angry at them. Why don't they come here and help us? So that's that.
So basically, somehow you're saying that the Jedi has been complacent with the control of the Republic, and then like somehow like other worlds have been left to like suffer.
Yes, it's basically the reason why the Jedi failed is not because of bad guy. I would say the Jedi failed because they didn't did their job, or they over glorified their job. They talk a lot, but they do little. So that's why that's actually how the director George Lucas has always intended, and other writers later expand upon, adding additional information like they support liberal economy, but liberal economy is actually hurting a lot of local business. They support the demilitarization of the republic. Basically, you don't basically they help establish a rule that says, okay, the republic don't need the military now. You don't need warships. You don't need army. You have Jedi. You have us. So, but guess what happened? The Star Wars galaxy is full of a lot of dangers, like pirates and gangsters, and I guess you can see which this leads to, because there are those kind of criminals running around. They disrupt trades and disrupt laws and orders, and
Yeah,
that
and there's
create a
only
whole
like
immense of problems.
10,000, right? You
Yes,
said 10, oh, there's only 10,000 for the full galaxy. That's actually really, really bad. Like no even in our situation, no country will only have that 10,000 police force. Usually it's like more than that. But for them, it's actually the entire galaxy. So yeah, so somehow I think it's really going to be failing.
yes. And another thing is, I was said there were 10,000 Jedi Knights, but actually a lot of them are not actually that powerful, as in like as we can see as though as the Jedi depicted in the movies where they jump and leap and they swing their lightsabers. A lot of them are actually the better are just doctors and philosophers and librarians cheering around wasting taxpayers' dollars. No, they don't use dollars, they use credits. So it's even worse. I would say the active members of the Jedi are even less than that. Like active as in going outside their temple and actually doing policing or fighting criminals. They're actually way less than that. Uh,
Um,
so, so speaking of criminals, because we were just talking about how the dark side and the Sith. So the Sith as depicted in the movies, like the Emperor and Darth Vader and Darth Maul.
yeah.
And yes, and side note, in case I forget to mention it later, the idea of the Sith has always been like in the early concepts of Star Wars, even though the word were not mentioned until like I think it's in prequel. But that concept has always been there. They actually filmed there is a scene where some Imperials were talking like this Dark Lord of the Sith, this Vader is coming here. But they deleted that scene because thinking that's way too complicated for the audience to understand. Too many ideas. So the Sith, there have been like no, there have only been like one origin stories. They haven't the new Lucas Art story groups haven't come up with a story for the new continuity. So I'll just go with the old one. So the Sith, they were originally Jedi as well. Because of the strict code of the Jedi, even though Jedi have a very strict code, but if there's one thing you cannot control, it would be human emotions. Like even in the best school, you have naughty kids, naughty children, rule breakers, and the Sith are basically those kind of rule breakers. They think the Jedi code is too restricting. They're limiting their powers, which obviously the Jedi code are designed to limit the power of Force users, and so they decide to screw the Jedi. We will leave and form our order. So that's how the Sith order came from. It was I would say that's actually because of they actually did this out of good intentions because they realized that the Jedi, even though they want to uphold peace and justice, they did very little about it and they don't have enough power to do it. So they think their ways of using the dark side, using anger and hatred, having more power will actually help them achieve that goal. But as we know from the movies, that wasn't the case.
But
Uh,
then, sorry, the Sith, how were they able to create so much havoc? Considering like in the movies, they only said that there's always two of the master and the apprentice. So how could they have created so much trouble just given that there's only two of them almost at the same all always at that one time?
As for there's only two of them. There are only two of them, a master and apprentice. That's called the rule of two. It was like basically this order, this rule that created by a Sith Lord 10,000 years before the movie. I will introduce a new unit for you here, BBY. That's short for before the Battle of Yavin. And Battle of Yavin is the event in the first Star Wars movie, in Star Wars Episode 4, The New Hope. So he was a Sith Lord from 1000 BBY, and he saw a lot of the problems of the Sith Lord is the dark side. The dark side corrupts their mind, makes them irrational, and they fight each other, and they never actually do what they set out to do, to basically to have more orders, more rules for the galaxy. So Darth Bane, after all of his other fellow Siths died, he established the rule of two, saying, now we can only have one master and one apprentice. The master will teach the apprentice, and the apprentice will grow and become powerful and kill the master, and then repeat the circle. That way, they keep the infighting nature of the Sith, which the Sith consider to be a good thing as long as it's controlled. So they keep that, but at the same time they keep the Sith as well. So that's what the rule of two means, is the origin of rule of two. So as for how powerful, why the Sith be able to cause so many havoc, that would be that I would say that would more due to their actual occupation, not themselves being the Sith, but them basically being sort of good citizens of the galaxy. For example, the Emperor in the Star Wars original trilogies, yes, Emperor Palpatine. Look at what he did. He was a young. Before he became a Sith, he was from a very rich family. He was actually a nobility, and then he became from nobility. He became the senators of his planet. As for, of course, in our world, senators is always a very powerful position. But in the Star Wars universe, I would say the senator is even more powerful than king or president or queen or whatever leader their planet has. Because imagine this: you are a member of the republic, and you have this senate here, and you are relying on this senate to basically give you trade and maybe like basic goods, and you have these senators who will basically represent you and say what my planet needs. What if the senator decided, you know what, my planet doesn't need this, even though the president told me to tell the Senate that we need more trade, we need a better economy. But what if the senator doesn't ignore the king? So as you can see here, the senator is actually way more powerful than whatever leader a planet has. So Palpatine, from nobility to senator, and eventually to chancellor, and then eventually manipulate political events to have people vote him to be the emperor. So I would say, if you don't know he's a quote unquote bad guy, can you find any problem with this? He was voted into the office, and the people changed the constitution for him to be the emperor. As everything is legal, as he put it, everything is legal. And even before that, Emperor Palpatine's master was a banker. Now, and his master before that is an engineer. So the Sith, even though in the movies you only see them like swinging their lightsabers and killing Jedi, but in fact, they are actually ordinary. Without take off their dark robes and lightsabers, they are just ordinary citizens, but feel rich and smart. So that's why they manage to cause them many havocs. They cause havocs through economy, through politics, not with their lightsabers. So that's also the other reason why in the prequels the Jedi lost to the Sith, because the the Jedi always thought the Sith, they kind of have this feeling that the Sith will eventually come back, but they were expecting them to come back like with like a big army, you know, like in the old times, all these forces of evil coming from the horizon with their scary army, the sharp teeth, and all that. But to their surprise, they should come back as politicians, mathematicians, and scientists. That's why they fail.
So it's actually like a fight between brains and bronze.
Yes, but in this case, the bronze are the good guys, and the brains are the bad guys. Also see also see that I don't know if the writers actually intended that, but they always keep these elements in the stories. Is that, you know, the Jedi's are always, you know, they're very smart. They're very smart. They study a lot of stuff, but they never actually apply their knowledge. They actually apply the knowledge very well. They don't share their knowledge. A lot of people actually don't believe in the Force, even though you can actually prove it with a lot of using a lot of means in the Star Wars galaxy. So it's not like in real life where you cannot prove magic is real because it isn't real. But in the stories, the Force is real, and you can prove it, but the Jedi don't want you to know about it. So that's another problem with that. Their reluctance to share also plays like a part in their downfall.
So basically, somehow, like with their attitude, somehow like the Jedi was like doomed to fail because of their practices.
Yes, but yes, that's how George intended. He originally wanted to depict like Jedi from the prequels. They are not, even though they have a lot of resources, their numbers are in the all-time high, but they're actually a dwindling organization because of their beliefs. They're stagnate for 1,000 years. Because for 1,000 years, nobody challenged them. So they haven't changed their ways for 1,000 years. Of course, there's a problem. As the galaxy improves or change around them, while they start being the same.
After the fall of the empire and then the establishment of like the new governments, were the Jedi Order, like in the latest movies, were they able to bounce back after that? Were they able to make the order back to what it was before, or there's like it's basically gone forever?
Well, because like in originals and the sequel movies, we all know that that mission failed. Although, of course, like the protagonist, like Luke Skywalker, he actually tried to reestablish the Jedi Order, but eventually failed because we need a sequel trilogies, and the Disney decided to keep the original narrative where the Jedi only are very weak, not weak as in like individually weak, but more like as an organization is weak. So they keep that. But in the old continuity, Luke actually succeeded in rebuilding the Jedi Order. He has the support of the new Senate, and he was able to, you know, go around the galaxy and find Force sensitives to be his students, and basically reestablish the Jedi Order and change a lot of rules as well. Basically, he learned from his master's mistakes. So that's a good thing. I would say that's a good thing, but but again, even in the old continuity, even after as he reestablished the Jedi Order, he still faced a lot of problems, the same problems the old order faced: politics and economics. A lot of people questioned why we should, you know, spend the tax on these monks basically doing nothing, and with this strict code of, oh, we would do no violence. So you can see the problem. They're the good guy, but they're also good guy that needs money, and not everyone thinks we need that. So not everyone was willing to want to see the text go to them. So there's always been like the film in the Star Wars narrative. It's not just good guy and bad guy. There's also a lot of ordinary citizens, and a lot of the time, like outside the movies, these ordinary citizens are, I would say, they are really the problem, the people causing the problems. But then again, some would say it's because they're manipulated. But I don't want to go too controversial, but that's just my opinion. So, so I was talking about how like the Sith and the dark side, how they do stuff, and why why are Jedi so so restrictive, and why the Sith is so havoc is will be due to the Force being the Force and how they use the Force. A lot of, well, from what I've observed, a lot of people who watch Star Wars, who discuss Star Wars in various platforms, they seem to have no problem with. They seem to have they don't seem to understand what the Force actually does to like the Force users. Like I will give an example, because I will use the Sith as an example because that's more. Yes, I will say that's the easier to understand. The dark side actually corrupts your mind. When you first have a taste of it, you wouldn't have any problem. You always tell yourself, "Oh, I can get away from this anytime soon. This anytime I want." But you always slip back into it again and again and again. It's like a drug. It's like an addiction. For I think in one of the Star Wars novels, the Sith Lord said this the best. The dark side is a illness no true Sith wish to be cured of. It's a disease. So a lot of Star Wars fans think of the Force as like a tool, like the wand in Harry Potter or the Infinity Stones in the MCU, when it's not. It's you can even say it's a being that controls us, that we have to find a way to coexist with it. In a lot of literature, the Force is actually depicted as a voice that speaks to us, a second voice. It's actually how in the sequel, Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, decided to go to the dark side. He hear voices. He thought to be his grandfather, or the Force, the dark side of the Force telling him. But in fact, it was just another Sith Lord. So, and as for examples on the Jedi, the light side, although George always wanted the light side to be the only side of the Force, but a lot of writers actually ignored it and say the Force has two sides, light and dark. And so the light side, when you are connected to the dark side, you actually feel complacent, you feel peaceful, and you don't want to deal with anything. So there's also that. But as like in the grander narrative, in the grand scheme of things, of course, you will want these powerful beings to be complacent, right? So that's why Jedi decided to stick to the light side, because it keeps the member complacent. The members don't go around causing troubles. So that's good. So that's the reason why they stick to one using the light and another using the dark. It's because they both believe this for the best, or this is best for themselves. And also because wording. Because like even in, I don't know if it's intentional or simply continuity error, but like I said, sometimes balance and the light and the dark, these terms get confused. And just like in real life, I'm trying to think of example, like how how in circuits, even though we know electrons go from negative to positive, but we still stick to the term that is from positive to negative. It's about our terminology. they don't actually know everything, but they stick to the term, they stick to the tradition. That after all, they are religions. After all, traditions is very important to them. That's cool. That's cool. Speaking of tradition, are you experiencing any problem over there?
Sorry?
Are you experiencing any problems over there? I don't see you. You didn't move for like a few
No, no,
seconds.
no, it's okay.
So, speaking of traditions, oh yeah, speaking of water is very important. That's why there's moisture farmers. Moisture farmers are basically like we said, they farm moisture in deserts. They are these collectors. They collect the moisture in the air. In fact, Luke Skywalker doesn't even know what ocean is before he left Tatooine, and he doesn't even believe, oh, you can actually have that many water on land. I thought you can only get them from the air. Actually believe that.
Tatooine is like a desert. Is it the whole planet is a desert or something like that?
The whole planet is a desert. The whole planet is they actually have a background story why it's like that. Is that like be like thousands of years ago, it used to be a tropical planet, but due to war, some people bombard the entire planet and turn everything into sand. It's coarse and irritating substance. So that's why it's like that. I'll try to don't talk that many memes. So as well. Now, a lot of since we're talking about the Jedi, another very hot topic in like basically the Star Wars community concerning the Jedi is the prophecy of the Chosen One.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the prophecy of the Chosen One?
Yeah, actually, I want to know, like, who's really the Chosen One? Is it Anakin or Luke Skywalker? Because they're supposed to be like, they said like the Chosen One is supposed to bring balance to the Force. So what do you mean by balance? Like, is it really just defeating the dark side? But that will not be balance, right? So what is this? Like, who first? Like, I would like to ask, like, who's the Chosen One? And the second one is, what do they mean by balance?
The Chosen One is the question is very simple. It depends on that's one correct answer, but if you ask different people, they will give you different answer. If you ask George Lucas, they'll say Anakin is the Chosen One. If you ask Luke Skywalker, he will say my father Anakin is the Chosen One. But if you ask Yoda or Obi-Wan, he'll say Luke Skywalker is the Chosen One. So there's that, because different people they believe different they believe that different things. So George always intended Anakin to be the Chosen One. He always want Chosen One to be this sort of like imitation of Jesus Christ. So you probably know this more than I do. He born of a virgin, very powerful, and they also have some similarities too, like. So my biblical knowledge is very rusty, but I recall that Jesus, one of his sort of like trials is to be tempted by the devil in the desert, right?
Yes.
Yes. And guess what? In the prequel trilogies, what was the first time like Anakin showed his dark side?
He was in when he killed those, like the one where in Tatooine, right? When his mother got kidnapped.
Yes, see, there's the similarity there. He was back in this old home desert planet. He was tempted there. The difference is the devil, the dark side, successfully tempted him, and that's there he derailed and slowly fall to the dark side. So, very powerful, Chosen One, born powerful in the Force, born of the Virgin, and basically explore how he bring balance to the Force. Like I said before, the term is very vague. If you ask George George would say, having only the light side will be balanced. And some other writers later on decide to have light and dark both coexisting to be balanced. So the chosen ones is supposed to bring balance to the force by eradicating the Sith. Everyone says it the best. You are the chosen one. You are supposed to destroy the Sith and not join them. So that's what the chosen one is supposed to do. And I would say this interpretation, there's nothing wrong with the word destroy the Sith, bring balance to the force. But the Jedi and the people in the galaxy and also us audience, we just didn't know how it will happen, how it's going to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the force. Why is the Sith included? That's for why there's imbalance, even though the terminology is fake, because they only have 3 words for the force. They only have light and dark and balance. But you can actually find, but there's actually like a uniform interpretation of balance. I would describe it as social harmony, because the force became imbalanced in the Clone Wars. So as Clone Wars is like the war between episode 2 and 3. This war was instigated by the Sith Lords to put him in the position of emperor. So in the Clone Wars, throughout the Clone Wars, in various media, in the animation or the books or the books or novels, the characters always say this line. They said, "Oh, there's war in the galaxy, and I feel the force out of balance." And you start seeing the core and the force, that imbalance gets worse once it gets to the era, the Imperial era. So you can see there's a correlation between the balance of the force and the current social condition of the galaxy. If the social condition is bad and people are feeling desperate, feeling like they don't even meet their basic needs, the force feels imbalanced. So the imbalance isn't just having equal numbers of light users or dark users. It's actually concerning the entire galaxy. So for the instead of being monks, the Jedi should go to study more about economy, because that's what it takes to keep the balance. So since the Sith, the Empire, caused the imbalance, so what Anakin did is he turned into Darth Vader, and then he redeemed, become Anakin, and he basically killed the Sith, the only Sith at that time. And in that actually include himself too. He basically removed the thing that's preventing the galaxy from going into the right track. So he did bring balance to the force. He removed a very bad political figure, the emperor and himself, so that a better government can take the empire's place. So that's how he maintained the balance. So that's that. But I would say that I wouldn't call it a fact though, because a lot of writers, they are afraid of actually delve deep into balance. They want to keep it fake. They think that if by stating everything, by explaining everything, it robs the mystery of Star Wars. I can see that. So that's what they mean here, in there. So okay. That's that. As for why people think Luke is the chosen one, would be, he is powerful, and he did sort of destroy the Sith, but in fact he didn't. He didn't actually defeat the Sith. He did cut off Vader's arm back in the Death Star 2, but he was immediately beaten by the Emperor. So he didn't meet any condition of being the chosen one.
Okay, yes, got it.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's it. I
Yes.
actually learned a
Yes.
lot.
Oh. So I guess that wraps up for today's podcast. So thank you for watching this podcast. I hope you enjoy what we have been
Yeah,
discussing here, and hope
I
you
also
can tolerate
learned
the bad
really a lot, and
quality.
it clarified a lot of things for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
And well, maybe if circumstances allow, maybe we can do this later again. So
Yeah, sure. That would be great.
thanks for
Okay.
watching. May the force be with you.
It of course, we.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.